Get your man the Flute to play song, the fuck.
Which everybody, Kachima Tashiv, and welcome back to episode number 127 of the Inline G Flute podcast with me, your host, motherfucking Inline G. I'm sorry if you can hear my washing machine going on in the background here, but lads, times are hard. I've got to wash my clothes here. I've got to look my best. This is a real behind the scenes look at what goes on in the Inline G studio. Fucking washing machine running in the background. But I'm a modern man. I clean my own clothes, all right? Calm down, girls and fellas. Also, speaking of studio, have you seen my new light? I had 12 pints last week in the pub and ordered that off Temu. Oopsie daisies. And it arrived and it looks like total shit. But anyway, we're running with it for now. Such is the level of professionalism on this podcast. Top 10% of video podcasts is Spotify, by the way. So, happy Spotify Wrapped Day. I fucking love Spotify Wrapped. I love when it comes up. And listen, I know don't fucking come for me, right? I know Spotify support ICE. But honestly, that's very much a you problem out in America. The fact that ICE even exists, it's not up to me to fucking fix this, right? You created this mess. It's not up to me and the Arctic Monkeys to fix it. But on Spotify Wrapped Day, some of you might be aware, you get a creator one as well. So I got one for the stats for the Inline G podcast. Shall we run through quickly, before we start this week's episode, shall we run through our shared success this year? Let's get going. So, Spotify Wrapped for Inline G. Total audience, by the way, from last year, we are up 63%. Total new audience, we're up 452%. That's fucking la numbers are. Total followers, we're up 52% as well. Listening time, 94.1 thousand minutes of listening. That's fucking wild, lads. Top episode was Perrier Personality with Mario Caroli. Very top episode. Played 75% more than your average episode. There you are. Your show was in the top 10% of video podcasts on Spotify. Thank you very much. We got to 57 countries overall, which is 11 more than last year. So if you're out there in Bangladesh, thank you for tuning in. And the top countries from 5th to 1st. In 5th, we have Ireland, free land of the free and the good. 4th, we have Australia, good day to his mates. Number 3, we have the United Kingdom, nobody's perfect. Number 2, we have Germany. Oh, fuck. And number 1, as always, as it is every year, the US of A. I fucking hate yous, but I love your dollars. Also, Canada didn't even pop up this year. Where the fuck have you guys all went? I know there's at least one of you out there listening, but I think it is. We're down to the last Canadian. Or is the USA invaded and you just come under US numbers now? But we were a top 10 show for 295 fans, a top 5 show for 205 people, and a top number 1 podcast for 71 people. Fucking class. Also, my listeners, you guys have been listening to your top artists, aside from Inline G, are Johann Sebastian Bach, Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and Bad Bunny. You have fucking terrible taste. Also, I see the other podcasts that you guys listen to. This broke my heart, by the way. So 5th, The Rest is History. That's okay. You can listen to that. Enjoy that. That's a wonderful podcast. 4th, Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, the fucking grifter. I'd love to beat him to death, man. He's a fucking... And how did that make you feel? He's a fucking grifter. He doesn't deserve... I want to go on Diary of a CEO. CEO of Inline G, kick his hole in. Number 3, The Adventure Zone. I don't know what that is. Sounds like something for virgins. Number 2, Border Nights. Again, not a clue. I hope it's not something political. Hope it's not Ice Age and this. But number 1, The Joe Rogan Experience. Who the fuck is out there listening to Inline G and Joe Rogan? If you're listening to Joe Rogan, give your head a fucking wobble. He's a fucking idiot. Get off it. Come on. I know you're a lad. Lads, don't listen to Joe Rogan. Please, for the love of Christ, get off that. Listen to Inline G. Fans listen to you for longer than 93% of other shows. I got an award called the Marathon Show. I got a talked about show. You've received more comments than 96% of other shows. And you've received more shares than 95% of other shows. So listen time is up 26%. Followers are up 52%. And the top country is the US of A. Thank you very much, you lovely fuckers. What a year. I'm getting emotional here. Beautiful. These are gorgeous. Making the dream come true. Now, this week's episode, we should get into this, by the way, shouldn't we? This week's episode is a part 2 from last week's episode or the week before last. I think it's the week before last. So many of you lot fucking complained. As if I'm not doing enough for you around here. Free of fucking charge, by the way. But I banged on about vibrato for 45 minutes, and there wasn't a fucking dicky bird in it about the diaphragm. not a notion of how to actually play with vibrato, how it's actually created, what it's done. So this week, I'm doing that for you. This week is a purely technical, scientific, physical, is that right? Physical episode. So, it's going to be all about how to make vibrato, where to make it, how to practice it, all the things you need to go and explore your bodies after this. Lock yourselves in a room after this podcast and give yourself a few hours just getting stuck into yourself. So before we get rocking here, we want to get our ducks in a row. Now, I'm going to talk about the human body. You might be starting to grow hairs where you didn't have hairs before, but it's okay. Your Inline G is here to tell you that it's a totally natural and healthy thing to produce hairs. And it is an essential part of playing with a good vibrato. Now, we're going to go from the bottom to the top of your bodies. Not that bottom, all right? Keep things clean around here. And see all the things that we need for the flute. I'll also mention which parts are voluntarily controllable, which aren't. Because a worrying amount of flute teachers out there do not know this. And this is a fucking disgrace. If you're teaching flute and you don't know this, cop yourself on, all right? For example, I tell you what, I'll give you an exercise, right? You're sitting there right now. You might have fell asleep already to the sound of my seductive voice. But if you have, wake up! Hey! Inline G's talking to you. Ninja. Sorry. Hope no one crashed the car there doing that. So, first of all, I want you, dear listener, to sit there and wiggle your eyebrows for me. And while you do that, you can listen to my washing machine in the background. Wiggle your eyebrows. Away you go. Beautiful. Now, wiggle your toes for me. Gorgeous. Now, wiggle your diaphragm for me. There you are. I caught you out. There's fuck all wiggling down there. The diaphragm is unwiggleable. Unwiggleable. It doesn't wiggle, right? And it moves, the diaphragm moves as a result of other muscles moving. So we're going to talk about all those lovely muscles. So we're going to start with the whole body, right? We're going to do this, right? We're going to start with these boys up here, these big boys up here. No, I don't mean your Georgie Bests. I mean your lungs. By the way, when I was writing this episode, I was trying to think of a funny word for boobs, and it just came to my head. Georgie Bests. Instead of breasts, like Cockney rhyming slang. Georgie Best for breasts. Man, you usually not appreciate the amount of fucking comedy you get in this podcast as well. Fuck Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has a smile in you. He's a fucking thing. And what do you think about? Man, fuck Joe Rogan. This is where you get the real shit. Honestly, you're getting everything. And this is top tier comedy. You lucky pricks. But anyway, your Georgie Bests, not them. We're talking about your lungs. They're behind your rib cage. This big thing up here. And not dissimilar to your Georgie Bests, one of them is bigger than the other. Your left lung is actually a little bit smaller than your right one. It's always the left one that's smaller, isn't it? Always. But that's actually to make space for your heart. So, your left lung's a wee bit smaller. What's the excuse actually then for having one bollock smaller than the other? Why is my left one smaller? Anyway, this is not... Sorry, I feel like I'm talking to a doctor here. That is beyond the scope of this podcast. Anyway, there's two big balloons there. That's what your lungs are. Two big juicy balloons. And you breathe in air, and your body drinks up the oxygen from the air and blows it back out. Now, interestingly, by the way, there's only a tiny amount of oxygen that your lungs actually take in. By the way, I'm sorry about the washing machine. It will end in a minute or two, and then it'll start beeping. I'm sorry. But here, times are hard, lads. I can't afford a maid around here. I'm going to do it all myself. So, anyway, only a wee bit of oxygen is taken in. That is why, for example, when you have to resuscitate someone using mouth-to-mouth, it works. Because when you blow out air, there's still shitloads of oxygen in it. It's still fine to get someone going. It's also why we, as musicians, like flute players or wind players, don't get oxygen deprived while we're playing our instruments. Doesn't happen. So anyway, muscle contractions control the in-breath. You can't control your lungs. They're not muscles, okay? And then as you relax the muscles that do control the lungs, that is the out-breath, the exhalation, okay? So that's why actually you can breathe in quicker than you can breathe out, because you're using the muscles for it in and then they're relaxing. So you have control over the in-breath more than you do the out-breath. More. You still have control over the out-breath. Now, also at rest, you only use about 10% of your lungs capacity. At heavy workouts, you're using about 80%. There's always about 1.5 liters of air in your lungs, and that's basically to stop them collapsing. Like a balloon. There's always a wee bit of air knocking about. So, great exercise, by the way. If you blow out all your air and just keep blowing and blowing and blowing, at some point your body will kick in and go, what the fuck are you doing? Breathe, man. Breathe. and you'll take a big, giant automatic breath. We're going to do it together now if you want to. Don't do it if you're driving, by the way, Jesus Christ. But as you breathe in, that breath is one of the best in-breaths you'll get. It fills your lungs right up. It's very relaxed. It's tension-free. That's your goal. That's what all your breaths should feel like when you're playing the flute. There's a wee free tip for you. So, that washing machine's going down, thank Christ. So, we're going to blow all our air out. Ready? Go with me. Keep going. Keep going, blow it out. It's going to kick on already. There you are. Oh, fuck, you hear my voice there? Fuck, I thought Barry White was sitting beside me there. Jesus Christ. So, you see what happens when you breathe in? It's just like this automatic swelling of your lungs. It's gorgeous. So, your lungs are not muscles, therefore you cannot control them. So when we talk about breath support, which you've heard all your teachers bang on about, support, it's in the muscles around the lungs, and that's where we're moving up in our exploration of the body on Inline G. Because muscles you can train, organs you can't. Except the liver. You can train the liver. Mine's in boot camp at the minute for Christmas. 6-week boot camp. Pint of Guinness today keeps the doctor away. So on your muscles, right? We'll get into the ones that use breathing. The first one, inhalation, is done with your intercostal muscles. They're in between your rib cages. They're all around here, okay? These can be trained, okay? Although not generally by the gym. You don't got to work these muscles out. That beeping's going to happen for a couple of minutes. You just have to get used to it, lads. If someone can work out the timing between the beeps as well, I'd be very appreciative because it drives me fucking mad. But anyway, intercostal muscles can be trained, but they're not trained by working out. They're trained essentially by playing the flute and controlling your inhalations. Controlling your inhalation speed, etc., will train these muscles. That's basically how to do it. Now, the exhalation is done with your Jesus muscles. They're down here, your Jesus muscles. The six-pack muscles, you know them. Your here, mine's a six-pack. Mine's a six-pack of Budweiser. Fuck, I'm funny. No, I call them your Jesus muscles. You know, I even see Jesus up on the cross. He's looking all sexy with that, with his six-pack. Those like the ripped muscles. They're called your abdominal muscles. And you can very much so train them at the gym. Because if you're no crack and you've never seen a pint in your life, you can train to get that Jesus V. The V that goes down there. They take a lot of work to get. And again, you're shit crack if you got them. So these are the muscles that control the exhalation of the air, the speed of the air coming out. Which for us is the bit that matters. That's the sound. That's the bit we're blowing into the flute. We're blowing into a loved one. So dynamics are controlled here as well, as is pitch, and we will get onto it later, but the V word, vibrato. So next, we'll move on through our body. The next thing I want to talk about is the big D. Not that big D, all right? I'm Irish, it's the average D at best. No, not that D. The diaphragm. We're going to get on to the diaphragm because there's so many misconceptions about the diaphragm in modern flute playing that I could do an entire fucking episode bitching about it. The state of understanding about the diaphragm is wild, especially when you got Google, man. Just Google it. It's fine. It's not like we don't research the diaphragm. It's not the fucking far corners of space. We know the diaphragm. We know what the crack is. So we're going to speed run these facts before I end up going on a rant for 45 minutes, okay? It's a muscle, but it's involuntary, which means you can't directly control the diaphragm. What does it look like? It's a big dome. It's like an upside down bowl, and it sits right between your lungs, right at the bottom of your lungs, and the rest, basically your belly. Where your rib cage ends are and where it gets all nice and soft and squishy, the lovey part. That bit there, your diaphragm sits above that. I'm showing the video watchers, audio listeners, you just have to touch your bodies along with me. So it sits right down there. The way it works is when you breathe in, it sits as a dome. When you breathe in, it flattens out. And the purpose of that essentially is to gently move your organs below that out of the way to make room for your lungs, who are now full of air. That's basically it. That's the role of it. Okay, it connects to loads of things, your diaphragm. There's loads of things going through it. It's basically like a highway, but that's the main purpose. Also, interesting, your diaphragm is never fully at rest, even when you sleep. It's always working at all times. And essentially, it's only really used with inhalation, not with exhalation, which is why you cannot control your flute sound with your diaphragm. That is bollocks, okay? Because the muscles activate to put it down. As you exhale, the muscles relax, okay? So you're not using your diaphragm. That's why when I hear all this thing about diaphragm sound, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. So there's fuck all use in the diaphragm for support. That's for your Jesus muscles. That's for your abdominal muscles, right? Diaphragmatic breathing, dog shit. You can't breathe to your belly either. When teachers say breathe in your belly, you can't do that. Now, I understand why they say that. Obviously, air stops the lungs. There's no air going into your fucking belly. The reason teachers say that is because it triggers an image of deep breathing, which is useful then. and these imagery is very important in teaching because we can't see the inside of our bodies, and we don't want to either. But what I would prefer to say, if you want to be really technically correct about it, is diaphragm-friendly breathing or low breathing. So the one that gets the diaphragm squeezing right down. Now, also important with the diaphragm is posture, because your posture affects the flexibility of your diaphragm massively. Good posture without tension gives a space for your diaphragm to do a bit of dancing. It gives it a free dance floor to go and shake its ass. And how do you find your diaphragm, by the way? You want to know where it is? Start panting like a dog. Dogs use diaphragm breathing, okay? So if you start panting like a dog, the thing that moves up and down, you put your hand on it, that's your diaphragm sitting right there, okay? Hiccups, by the way, when you hiccup, that's like your diaphragm glitching. That's your diaphragm getting fucked, all right? Not that way, you know what I mean? So when we're working with diaphragm, okay? When we're working with everything, we breathe our air in, okay? We've controlled the entry into the body through the lungs and the intercostal muscles, right? And then we've got it coming out through the abdominal muscles. The diaphragm plays a part in this. Where does the air go from here? Okay? Because it goes up here. It goes up your trachea or your windpipe, as you would know it as. And then it hits your larynx. Very important to talk about. The larynx, or the voice box, you might know it as. That basically, it shapes the opening of the windpipe at the top. Okay? And it adjusts pitch. So the opening can change size and shape to adjust what pitch comes out. It's very, very, very important for singers, because they have to sing different notes. When you're talking, it's very important. It's what gives you inflection up and down, okay? It's not as important on the flute. It's still used a little bit, and it still can change the sort of color and tone and sound of your flute, but it's not the same. The most important thing with your larynx is to keep it super relaxed to allow the air to get through. One of the ways I get my larynx relaxed is I sing a drone of the note, the piece I'm playing. So if I'm playing a piece in G major, I'll just find a G quickly, and I'll go somewhere in my throat where it feels like it's relaxed. So then around that range is good for me. I'll go, oh, and then the feeling I've got there, that's what I try to recreate in the flute. The feeling of my larynx there, do that in the flute. Easy. Now, there is an idea, and I actually talked to my teacher in Paris about this. She had a really strong theory that if you shape your larynx along with what you're playing, so essentially you move the larynx and sing it. So if you're playing da 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 dee doo 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 dee da 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 da, you sing the same thing. So you're larynx. If you sing that now or sing something, you can feel it moves. Then take the voice away. She had a theory that if you move the larynx in the same way, essentially sung along with it, it would help intonation. I don't know too much about that yet. I'm not really positive on that, but here, it works. It's doing something. It's making you think about it, and that's the most important thing. But do whatever works for you. The most important thing for me is to keep it relaxed and do not let it fuck with the air. Just let the air get in and out with as few problems as possible. So next, after the larynx, it hits your pharynx. Now that's much more important for us as flute players because that's your resonance chamber. Okay, that's the space at the back of your throat. Okay, right back here, and you can change the shape of it using different vowels. A, E, I, O, U. You can feel it. That's the back change, and that's your pharynx, right? And that's changing that vowel. It sort of dictates where the air bounces off. So that's why it's called a resonance chamber. The air will bounce in different directions depending on which one you use, and it will vibrate at a different speed, and it will get you a different sound. That is important for flute playing. That really is. And you can play with it. Again, keep it relaxed, but that's something to play with. It's very, very good. And that clearly affects tone. So then, after that, we have the mouth, the tongue, and finally, the lips. We all know about these. They're used for all the great things in life, like flute playing and eating and the insertion of loved ones. Good posture, by the way, throughout flute playing, in the spine especially, will increase the efficiency of all the parts of this machine. Everything is helped with good posture. It's so important. Tension is the devil. The minute you start having tension anywhere in your body, if you have a bit of tension in your fucking foot, you will compensate with it, maybe with your knee. And then your knee has to be compensated by your hip. And then your hip is moving one way. Your diaphragm is going to not have the space to move. It's going to affect the airflow. Or you're activating one of the muscles that's used for air. And then it's not working on your air anymore. It's working on keeping your dodgy hip up, all right? Tension is fucked. You have the goal of your flute playing is to get so without tension that you can just let everything happen. And that's why people talk about this imagery of the sound almost falling out of you. When you're fully without tension, it does just drop out of you. It's lovely. It's very relaxing as well. So something to always work towards is no tension, which is difficult because we play an asymmetrical instrument. So there is naturally a bit of tension, or not tension, but we use a lot of muscles to bring the flute out to one side as opposed to straight ahead. It's not a natural position, so it's something we have to work on. But your ultimate goal throughout the entire process of playing the flute is to get the air in and out through this entire system with as little intrusion as possible. Good posture facilitates that. So the lungs are for getting the air in, the muscles regulate it, the throat and the mouth shape the sound, and the lips sculpt it. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Fuck, I'm good. Fuck, I am good. Where else would you get this, by the way? This podcast is great. You are so lucky. Fucking hell. No, I'm not even drunk. It's 11:30 in the morning. Now, we're going to get into where vibrato slips into this machine, this whole process in a moment. But first, the world's biggest flute podcast and top 10% of Spotify video podcasts needs your help. Christmas is coming up, and I'm like Bob Cratchit here trying to keep the lights on for Tiny Tim. So, the Inline G podcast is free, and it'll always be free. That's a motherfucking guarantee. However, if you wish to donate to the podcast, you can now do so through the Patreon. On the screen now is the address, and for the audio listeners, you can see it in the description, but it is patreon.com/the Inline G Flute Podcast. As it's in the description. Go click it now, alright? How does Patreon work? Listen, you sign up to my Patreon. It costs €5 a month, whatever that is in your currency. With that, you're keeping this podcast alive. Without the Patreon, this podcast would not exist. We do not have sponsors on this podcast. I've turned them all away because they all want some degree of creative control, or not to let me swear, or not talk about this or that, or these politics, or this person that did bad things, blah, blah, blah. This podcast, I can say whatever the fuck I want because it's 100% listener funded. That is so cool. It's not cheap to run a podcast, by the way. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort. These microphones don't grow on fucking trees either, I tell you lads. And recently it's been getting more expensive, I'm not gonna lie. You know, bills are going up, I'm putting more time into it and getting better production quality. This costs a lot of money. I'm very happy to do it. I love this podcast. It is a true labor of love. But the income from the Patreon really is the secret to keeping this podcast alive. The patrons are the MVPs of this podcast. It is the definition of a small independent podcast. There's no one else here, lads. It's just me. I do every single part of this. It's $5 a month. Okay? Whatever you're fucking pissing away on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Disney to these massive companies, give a quarter of that to your local Inline G. You're getting 4 episodes a month of this podcast. 127 weeks in a row. Every Friday there's been an episode. Come rain nor fucking shine. We've got the lot. And you'll never be without an episode on Friday. I promise you that. The more money that comes in, the more we grow. That's it. I'm very clear about my accounts. You just have to contact the authorities at the Cayman Islands to find out more details. So, if you can afford to sign up to the Patreon, you can even sign up for 1 month, cancel straight away, and then it's like a one-off fee. And then you're gone. It's €5 a month. You are keeping the podcast alive. Don't sign up through the app if you're on an iPhone. Do not sign up in the app. Go to patreon.com because Apple will take their 15%. Steve Jobs wants that from beyond the grave, and we're not giving it to him. So go sign up there if you can afford it. It really helps. Listen, if you can't afford it, okay, don't worry about it. Someone who can't afford is paying so that you can listen for free. It's a system based on kindness and soundness. The way I view it is, if you listen to a couple of episodes of this podcast, you think, fuck, that was a great episode. I got that for free. I'd love to buy Gareth a pint to say thank you. $5 a month is less than a pint. You wouldn't even get a pint for $5 these days, all right? So you don't even have to buy me a pint. You can buy me a virtual 3/4 of a pint per month. It's fuck all right? And the ones that have signed up, God fucking bless you. I love you. Mwah. Thank you. So, where does vibrato slip into this whole complicated, beautiful system? Because you all know what vibrato is. Because you all watched the first episode of this 2-part series, didn't you? You obviously did 2 weeks ago. What else would you be doing? So in this gorgeous system, where does she pop her head up? Because for string players, for example, vibrato, it's in the hands. Shake it, okay? For flute players, it used to be done by our fingers. I talked about this before. Back when we were playing the wee shite Baroque flutes, we did it with our fingers. But we've got these bad boys now. These big fucking bone bad boys. These big fucking... big sexy fuckers. So, these take a bit more work, okay? Because... you know, those Baroque flutes, they couldn't take that much air. So little fluctuations help. We need to fluctuate the fuck out of these bad boys, okay? So how do we get this gentle fluctuation of pitch that is so lovely in our ears? You need somewhere in this whole system, between your lungs and your diaphragm and your muscles and your larynx and your pharynx and your bulbs and your families, you need to find somewhere to get a gentle little fluctuation in the air. And there's a lot of places, but what you really want in those frequently fluctuating waves of sound is flexibility, total control, and adaptability. This is very important because fast, you want to be able to go fast or slow or wide or narrow. Like all things with technique, we want to make the choices musically and not based on the limitations of our technique. Now, firstly, I should say, I'm a big believer, if it works, do it, right? Doesn't matter. If you can make it work, fucking do it. There's no right way to do anything in the flute. If it sounds good and it's not holding you back in any way with any limitations, great, do it. because that's the goal, is to make it sound good. That's all we're doing this for. Okay? Who gives a fuck where it comes from? If you can do all that properly, all those things I talked about, and still control it, your vibrato could come out of your arse for all I care. But I'm going to give you the most common types of vibrato that we see and tell you why I think they're good or bad for us. Now, the first one is jaw vibrato. Not one you might know very well in the flute, but it's very popular with the divas in the 1980s. People like Mariah Carey and my Auntie Whitney. And they have that. It's shaking the jaw, essentially. It's a gentle movement of the jaw. Okay? Also, singing has a generally different vibrato. We will get to that. But they use the jaw vibrato. You might know as gospel jaw. And basically, don't do it. You can't do it in flute. Really, you can't do it. Our airstream is way too delicate for this, okay? When you think of Mariah Carey or Whitney Houston blasting out these huge big hits, they are putting monstrous amounts of air out of their mouths. So, shaking the jaw will not have that much of a fluctuation effect because the amount of sheer power coming out of them is insane. So the big jaw movements, they'll just about touch the fucking sides. But for us, it won't work. Or generally, it doesn't, okay? I'm yet to see a flute player using jaw vibrato. I don't know if there are any, but I haven't seen one at all. I wish I did. The other one, by the way, do not do, because a lot of Americans do this, apparently. Pop singers in America at young ages, they grab their throat, they grab their fucking larynx and shake it to go, Jesus fucking Christ. Singing vibrato is natural, okay? So don't be doing that. Don't be grabbing your larynx and shaking it, okay? There's only one bit of your body you should be grabbing and shaking, and it's not your larynx. Singing vibrato is very natural, and it's actually more natural than it is on the flute. And it often comes from the throat. It does come from the larynx, not by grabbing it, though. Now, we talked about the larynx earlier. We don't use it really as flute players. As I said, we don't need to change the pitch. We're using our larynx. Our fingers do that. Singers obviously do. They use their larynx a lot. It's a lot more trained. It's a lot more reactive. It's a lot more responsive. And the better the singer, the more they can do that. You can hear singers sing all kinds of amazing virtuoso passages. People like Cecilia Bartoli, Jesus Christ. All that coloratura stuff, it's incredible. That's all done with the larynx and the beautiful control over it. We don't have that, okay? We genuinely don't. Now, because they're using the larynx muscles a lot, okay, fatigue will start to set in as well. There's two contrasting muscles in the larynx, or two contrasting muscle movements, on and off, essentially. Now, as the fatigue settles in, there's a wavering that can occur in the muscles of the larynx that is known as vibrato, okay? So it's essentially, for them, it's altering the vocal folds, okay? Is this throat vibrato? Yes, kind of, but it comes naturally to singers, which it doesn't. It's a result of them using the muscles so much that when they stop using them, or in between the on-off modes of every muscle, of these muscles, there is a wavering, and that will turn into vibrato. That's why singing vibrato is so much more natural and so much easier. And it's also why singers often sing with a much quicker vibrato. It is different, okay? When flute players try to use throat vibrato, we have to activate the muscle for it. We're using the muscle just for the vibrato. We're not using it already, and we're switching it on. That means it's so heavy, and it's really nearly impossible to control. To have any subtlety to it or any control over speed is really difficult, especially for a long amount of time, because the counter muscles needed for flexibility aren't activated in the vocal folds. We're not using them. So then it can get very tense very quickly, and it gives you that like goat vibrato, because we can't do it without using the larynx, which we don't use. Try it. Try singing a note now, okay? Sing a note with your throat vibrato. So, mine's not very good either. I haven't trained it, obviously, because I cannot sing to save my life unless it's Shaggy. Now I want you to try and keep the sensation of that vibrato in your throat. Do it, do it like that, and make your flute embouchure, blow some air out, and don't use the voice. So, Do you feel how wide that vibrato comes when you're using your flute embouchure? You can hear it in the microphone. Jesus, you could jump through that. It's wild. It's all over the place because it's not the same active muscles that singers use. So we have to use somewhere else to activate vibrato. Now, some people can do it from the throat and they have a wonderful sound, and fair fucking play to them. Again, if you can do it and it works for you, fucking do it. Happy days. But most of us, it's too difficult, okay? So we use what we call diaphragmatic vibrato, okay? Again, bad word. Let's say diaphragm-friendly vibrato. Firstly, we need to give the diaphragm a fighting chance to do this, okay? So create a space for it to dance. Clear the dance floor out so your diaphragm, can get its dancing shoes on. Tension-free posture. That is number one in all flute playing. Tension-free posture. Very relaxed. You have to work on that a lot. Shoulders, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, lads. They all need to be tension-free. Every part of your body needs to be relaxed, okay? Then your diaphragm gets flexible. We can rock it. Now, we're going to use the same muscles that we use for playing the flute, especially the exhalation of air. We're just going to alter or add little pulses to that exhalation to give it vibrato. So first of all, we're going to find the diaphragm, do the panting. Or if you don't want to pant like a dog, you can do ha, 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 ha. There's your diaphragm. And there's the muscles that are used for it. Whatever you do to activate ha, whatever muscles you're moving, that's what you use to get the flute out. That's where your support comes from, and that's what you're going to use for vibrato. Now, they might be slow muscles at the minute, but they can be trained. This is why, another thing, when people say, or when teachers say especially, vibrato can't be trained, it must be learned naturally, that is absolute horseshit. It is horseshit, and it's lazy, and it's selfish teaching, and they're fucking idiots. They're getting it started. Fuck, do I have time to explain this to you? I've been saying this so much recently. If I'm ever going to get cancelled, by the way, this is the moment I get cancelled. I've been showing my girlfriend recently that the song Let's Get It Started by the Black Eyed Peas, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this. Let's get it started. Originally on the Elephant album, I swear to fucking God this is true, the original version was Let's Get Retarded. It's not on Spotify anymore, the Black Eyed Peas are taking it off, but it's on the CD, because I've got the fucking CD, back in the days when you actually used to buy music and the companies can't delete it from you, and it's on YouTube, of course. It used to be Let's Get Retarded. I know we're not meant to say that word. I'm doing it for educational purposes, academic purposes. But when I think someone's being a little bit stupid, I love to say, oh, they're just getting it started. I don't know if I should be cancelled for that. I don't know. The jury's out yet. You guys can decide. If you've turned off, fuck you. So anyway, it can be taught. Vibrato can be, of course it can be taught. It's a muscle. It can be trained and developed like anything else. And teachers will tell you that. They just can't be bothered doing it. And they're fucking idiots. It's useless. So, we're going to use the same muscles for support. They provide our vibrato. Sometimes you can gently mix in a little bit of the throat to sort of sculpt it. That's what I think of sometimes, having the deep vibrato from down here where I adjust the air and then just sculpting it a little bit by the gentle version of throat vibrato, a very gentle version. Sometimes I do that. But it's just for fine tuning and it's very, very gentle. And I wouldn't recommend doing it at the start. So tension-free, training the muscles. But how do we actually practice this? How do we actually get it into your flute playing? Well, don't worry. I'm here. And I've stolen ideas from the great flute players to pass them on to you, dear listener. And this one comes straight from Emily Bainan, the fucking queen of flute, man. Emily Bainan, anyone not familiar with her, principal flute of the Concertgebouw Orchestra in Amsterdam. Welsh, incredible flute player, incredible woman. Bingo. Now, her method is quite simple. I'm going to show you quickly. Fuck. I haven't even played a note yet today. So you're going to start with this ha. You're going to play a straight note and you go ha, okay? And it's going to be wide and stinking and awful, okay? That's awful. What I like to think of instead of a sharp attack is more wow. That's ha. Easy. Put it to a metronome. Now you go to quavers, or whatever the fuck Americans call it. Great, you can do that. Do each one for 2 full breaths. That's it. This takes about 3 minutes, lads. 3-4 minutes. 2 full breaths, and then move on to the next one. Next one is triplets. And then if you can do that, happy days, move on to semi-quavers. Great, you can do that. We move on to quintuplets, the one with 5. No. And then you move on to sextuplets, groups of 6. And then, etc., etc., etc. A good goal to get to, when you get to sextuplets, you're pretty much rocking. If your metronome's at a decent speed, like usually 60, 70, something like that. That's your exercise. That's it. That's how you learn vibrato. Do that every day. You're training the muscles. You'll not get it straight away. They are muscles. It's like going to the gym. They will take time. But if you do that every day without tension and just observe the results, I swear to fucking God, after like 2 weeks, you're going to see progress. I swear. That's it. Don't try to make progress. Just do the exercise. Do it every day. And you need to do it every day. Okay? Because it's a muscle. The more frequently you do it, the better. Do it twice a day if you can. 3 times on a Sunday. But you don't even need your flute for it, to be totally honest. You can also do it without flute. You can just go, ha, ha, ha. Just be careful not to use the throat vibrato when you do it with your voice, but do it. I tried to take the voice away. But you can do it anytime. Better with the flute. Or the head joint. That'll do Graham. That's it. Okay? That is all you have to do, and you will learn vibrato. That's it. All right? And then you develop flexibility through that. My last exercise, I like to put on that as well, once I've sort of, to finish it, is to do the slow to fast vibrato. So in the Cellorando, which I love doing in music in general, is to start super wide. This is an exercise, by the way. It's not meant to sound pretty. Don't try and fine-tune it yet. So the last thing I finish with each one of these exercises, at the end, I try to do a lovely little diminuendo at the end while keeping the vibrato fast. That's it. That's my last one, because that's one that I would actually use quite a lot. And that just gives you a little bit of flexibility. There you are. 3 minutes, done and dusted. Kippers and custard, you're off to the fucking races. Happy days. So, there you are, lads. That's vibrato done. You're fucking welcome. Fuck, I'm good. Where else would you get this quality of content, by the way? I'm really arrogant today. I'm really on my own hole today. But here, the Spotify numbers don't lie, lads. Also, something I should probably be telling you all about more often, because so many of you ask about this. I do teach a lot. Like, most of my income comes from... Sorry, excuse me, that's a spetsy. Most of my income comes from teaching. I love putting all the secrets out here. Because why the fuck not? But if you want to get a personalized approach to it, you can come and get a lesson from me online. You don't have to sign up for like a monthly one. You can get one-off ones. I try and fit you into my schedule. At the minute, it's pretty hectic. Over the Christmas break in January, I've got a couple of slots popping up, especially if you're in America or Australia. We can work it out. Because if you're happy to do morning or evening lessons, we can do that. And it kind of suits me better because those kind of hours tend to work for me. So if you're over in the States and you want to get an online lesson and have a full diagnosis of your vibrato and get a personalized thing to work it out, we can do that. You can also talk about the French style of playing. You can talk about double tonguing. You can talk about anything. Come and tell me what you want and I'll fix it. I'm a very nice teacher, by the way. I don't shout at you. I love helping people. I love teaching. So just send me a message if you want a lesson, a one-off. I'm not that expensive either. What am I? Fuck. I'm 60 euros for an hour. That might go up in January. But for now, it's 60 euros, okay? 60. So whatever that converts to in your currency, it's not much, is it? And you get sorted. So come and get a lesson. Why not? Happy days. And here, I'll sort your vibrato out in 45 minutes. And if not, you get your money back. Not really. No refunds, no receipts. Otherwise, the tax man will be turning up at this door looking at his pound of flesh. So anyway, also for Inline G, there's going to be some banked episodes coming up over the next few weeks. Thank God. I'm doing a lot of interviews this week to put them out over the Christmas period because I'm going to be, from the 18th to the 29th of December, I am going to be in lovely Belfast, Ireland, back home. I'm going to be back in Germany for one day, and then I'm off to Tbilisi, Georgia, for 11 days to see my girlfriend's family and to visit that country for the first time. If you have any ideas of podcast guests in either Belfast or Tbilisi, please hit me up. I would love to interview them, especially Tbilisi. If you know anyone in Tbilisi, flute player, conductor, music expert, somebody who's comfortable doing an episode in English, please hit me up because I really want to get involved in the music scene over there. So, thank you very much. I love you all. Have a great December. And big smooches. I'll see you soon. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Get your man the flute to play, son. The fuck.